Hot sauce hunk. Is that right? We're good? I mean, you guys are the only ones watching this one, so. Dance tonight, dressed super spiffy, so that you look all special and fancy. Last day before we go camping, not glamping. It's not called Glamp Tecumseh, it's called Camp Tecumseh. Don't be judgy. And then I tried to make the ties fit, so instead of wearing Camp Tecumseh shirts, I was thinking, well, we're going to go in the woods, and Winnie the Pooh lives in the 100-acre woods, so I was trying to make a connection between my ties and Camp Tecumseh as best I could from there. So apparently
So
it may have been a bit of a reach. Forgot to unlock it. I did not. I'm rebellious like that. The kid I almost hit, that's why I threw it that way. Alright.
Are you guys smelling good? Hey, after class?
That one. To remind you for Monday, remember you have 4 bags. Yesterday's PowerPoint is going out on Remind today. So if you want to see that stuff, 'cause I had kids taking pictures, you just go on Remind. I put it into a PDF or whatever, and so it's sent out, so you should be good to go there. Pack a water bottle. I forgot to say that to you guys. You're going to do a lot of hiking there, and I highly recommend just bringing a water bottle that you can fill up at the little water stations, and then you should be good to go. No open shoes. Highly recommend writing your name and cabin information on everything. Sorry, I forgot to charge Jimmy Jam the points. I just want to make him sad. And then make sure you get between 8:30 and 8:45 Monday, and then we should be good to go. Any other questions you guys have over the weekend, you can send me an email or a remind, and I'm more than happy to help you out. Otherwise, I will be seeing you Monday morning, bright and early. So, schedule for next week. We are at camp Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I've already updated calendar over here for you. You will have a sub Thursday, Friday, because I am still at camp on those days. So I can't be in 2 places at once. I've tried, it hurts. So because of that, you will have a sub back here. I will have video for you on my Canvas page to help you, but essentially you're going to be doing a reading and a little assignment that goes along with it. And so you're going to have to get to page 108 by that next Monday. So the Monday after Camp Tecumseh, the Monday I am back with you, we are going to have a quiz up to page 108. I'll be happy to answer questions, but I don't think you're going to have a whole lot. There's not a whole lot of tricky stuff that happens. It's just a matter of getting there and understanding it. And then Tuesday, we begin iLearn. So that gives you an idea of what we have coming up over the next 7 days after today. So when you guys show up next week on Thursday, Friday, please go to Canvas, bring headphones, bring iPad, bring book, because I will be reading to you for part of it, I will be talking to you for part of it, and it should make your life much, much easier as far as that goes. Yay. Alright. Also, those of you who don't like to read, if you go to the gospel page next Thursday, Friday, you can use the little link and you can have a professional reader read it to you, but that is up to you if you want to do that. Alright, back to the gospel. Let's see. We got to that dude. Walden, they're going to talk about him quite a bit. We got to your Groundhog Day and Pokey and Gumby, and then again, highly recommend you guys do something with Monty Python. If I remember right, I'll even send out a link on Remind for like one of their better ones. They have like the Dead Parrot sketch and the Ministry of Silly Walks, and you can take a few minutes to watch and then laugh and stuff like that. The Holy Grail's on Netflix. Yes, I agree. I can't send a link to Holy Grail. That's an entire movie. So you went to there. Then the advertisement, which we're going to talk about because that's going to be coming up again today with the idea of consumerism. And then, do you ever remember what word means?
Turn up.
That's a turn up.
Not
before. Here's the part where I'm pretty sure Preston and Bryce are looking back and forth at each other, just going at each other, because now we have the bitter anger going between the two of them. Oh my goodness gracious. Alright, let's see, what page did we leave off with you guys?
21. It's not bad.
Yes. 21.
Larry has less than 80 possessions.
Yes. So, One of your first homework homework assignments next week while I'm gone is you are going to be creating a list of the 75 items that you have to limit yourself to. Hypothetically, because I'm not coming to your house to check, that would be creepy, but you are going to list, if you had to limit yourself to the 75 items that Larry does, what would be your core 75 items?
What if I just put my house in all
Yeah,
kinds
but you don't own your house. It can only be things you own. If only there were directions I'm going to give you. How about that? Good try. But what's with the photos? Are we supposed to guess Larry's identity? Larry has less than 80 possessions. He posts them on his website, a few at a time, daring people to guess who he is. Right now, everyone's clueless. I mean, what can you tell from a pen and a hairbrush? Maybe you'll be lucky, and the next clue will be his or her license. Beth smiled. I'm sure Larry's saving that one for last. I asked her if she wanted to come over later and talk about my ideas for the club. She frowned. I can't. I have to study for the calculus test. Beth was a lot of things. Gorgeous, smart, determined. She was also a terrible liar. I stared her down. Okay. I promised I'd help my father with inventory. I kept staring. Darn it, Josh! I told Todd I'd help his... I don't want to hurt your little ears. Darn it, Josh. I told Todd I'd help him clean his basement tonight, okay? Could you please explain how someone as committed to personal growth as you are can vacuum the basement of the class cretin just because she thinks she's in love with him? I don't want to hear it, Beth barked back. There is no one more inconsistent than you. You're a computer geek who hikes in the woods for days. You hate to buy things, yet you always go to Bloomingdale's. That's different. But forget it. You made your point. Do you guys know what Bloomingdale's is?
A store.
Way to use your clues. Or those of you who've been. Yeah, Bloomingdale's is like Sears, Ellis, Ayers, JCPenney. For those of you who know what JCPenney is, it's like that same type of place. He hangs out at a Bloomingdale's all the time, but that's because he goes there to hang out with his dead mom.
What?
Don't worry. It'll make more sense coming up in a moment. She's not on display, like hanging up there.
What?
If you're like, is she a mannequin? No, but it's a thing he does, which will make more sense.
Maybe his mom
Yes.
grew up in the hood
Correct.
and they came.
Well
she's
done.
buried under the store.
She was just gearing up. Look, you're my best friend. We've been bailing each other out since grade school, but not everyone wants to go through life being a hermit, living in the world of ideas. She made quotation marks with her fingers when she said the word ideas. It was one of the only things Beth did that drove me out of my mind. She finally got around to sputtering out the truth about Todd. He's the only cool guy who's ever liked me. I know he can act like a jerk, but do you mind if I let his popularity just rub off on me for a while? For some reason, the bare bones honesty of her plea only fueled my growing sense of annoyance. I'm out of here. I made those fake quotation marks around the word out, then walked toward lit class. I could feel her behind me, even before she spun me around to face her. I hate fighting with you. Hate it, hate it, hate it! We stood silently for a few minutes. I do a good job channeling Teen Girl. It's okay. I know you thought there was a real one in front of you for a second. It's just that Todd has to have the basement cleaned by the weekend or he can't play. I'm trying to have some school spirit for once. Plus, he knows I'm really good at organizing things. I wanted to tell her that those skills might be put to better use than placing football and basketball trophies in chronological order. But I held my tongue. Instead, I told her I had lots to do, tons to do. I was way too busy to deal with this paltry exchange. I shuffled away as nonchalantly as someone in deep despair could shuffle. My anxiety around Beth could be traced to one thing. I was never included in the endlessly rotating list of guys she had crushes on. Sam, Daniel, Andy, Speedy McDermott, Jack, now Todd. But never, ever me. If the choice were a 2-week exciting vacation in Europe with me, or helping Todd clean his basement, I knew sadly what Beth's choice would be. Next stop on my fun-filled day, guidance with Miss Phillips. I tried to rally myself for the occasion by doing some standing push-ups against my locker. I hadn't even sat down when Miss Phillips got to the point. Have you thought about your major, Josh? Miss Phillips had the terrible habit of pushing her glasses up her nose with her middle finger. She did it so often, everyone in school called her Flip-Off Phillips. I played with the zipper in my book bag, then realized I was not giving her my full attention. Larry sermon number 22. I looked her in the eye. I was thinking about philosophy. You know, the meaning of life, that sort of thing. From the point of view of someone who likes to read and likes to think like you do, it's a good choice. Once you realize the job prospects are pretty slim. Well, I'm thinking after the Depression, after the apocalypse, there'll be lots of positions for people with depth and vision. She crinkled up her nose. Her glasses fell. She flipped me the bird again. Josh, I'm not... By the way, I wish I wore glasses so I could do that sometimes. I meant like accidentally push up my glasses. She flipped me the bird again. Josh, I'm not sure it makes sense to plan a career based on an apocalypse. Well, what if there isn't one? Then I guess I'm screwed. I flashed her a big smile so she couldn't yell at me for the language. I suppose I'm being too materialistic. Studying philosophy at Princeton's a fine and worthy choice. I wasn't sure Miss Phillips's revelation came less from my sales pitch than it did from the fact that it was 10 to 11 and she was dying for a cigarette before her next appointment. I decided to let her off the nicotine hook. I gathered up my things and headed for the door. I've had a soft spot in my heart for Miss Phillips since last year, when I spotted her email address in her office and started up a chatty internet conversation with her as a 40-year-old bachelor from Portland. Footnote, I don't care what anyone says, I was not going through her desk. By the way, this was one of the first examples of someone pretending to be someone else online. Now we have a term for that. Yeah, this was actually one of the first times someone had been catfishing was Josh, and he accidentally did it with his guidance counselor, thinking he was playing a joke on her, but it just got awkward and creepy.
Oh, no.
Yeah. After months, which is also weird, he flirted with his guidance counselor. After months of quiet online flirtation, I invited her to meet me at the Borders coffee shop, only to watch her from the cookbook section. She waited more than 2 hours and 3 cappuccinos before she went home. That I felt bad about. Miss Phillips was usually tough as nails. I never thought she'd fall that hard. I decided to skip the rest of the day. The recurring vision of Beth dressed up like Snow White, singing as she swept Todd Terrific's basement was more than I could endure. I grabbed my camera from my locker and opted to check in with my mother instead. When my stepfather visited Mom, he headed for the cemetery. I, who knew her much better than he did, headed for somewhere that captured her spirit more than a pasture full of granite headstones. The makeup counter at Bloomingdale's. For those of you who are male, who may not have visited a makeup counter, it's where you get to go and get like your makeup done, and they get to sell you all kinds of fancy things, and you get to sit like in a little area like that. I know. We've all been there and spent time, but in case you don't remember, I thought I'd help you out. I slogged through the slush, then grabbed the bus to Chestnut Hill. Ever since we lived in the Boston area, my mother had dragged me here once a month. The waft of perfumes hit me like a surge of memories. I plopped down in the tall seat at the Chanel counter. I think it's safe to say I was the only person in that department sitting in the lotus position. That's another meditation thing. Do you guys know lotus position?
No.
This one I can't demonstrate for you. You're close. Buddha with like your little legs that do like the little crossy cross thing. So that's the lotus position. So he sits at the makeup counter with his little legs doing the crossy cross thing. That's the lotus side meditation. Yeah. If I did that, I wouldn't stand again. Hello, Josh. Hello, Joshy. How's it going? Marlene, the beauty doctor, has been working here for more than 20 years. with her shiny helmet of dyed black hair and dark eyebrows penciled in for the ones she lost years ago. She was Mom's favorite salesperson. It's slow, so you can sit. If I get a client, you know the drill. I saluted, then leaned back to hang with Mom. My mother bailed on her wealthy parents' expectations as soon as she hit college. Instead of following in their Wall Street footsteps, she hitchhiked cross country, worked tirelessly for civil rights, and made some bad choices in men. One thing from her Grosse Pointe background, Grosse Pointe's a really nice neighborhood in Boston, sort of like their version of Carl, Indiana. She couldn't walk away from, however, was her fondness for upscale moisturizers and creams. She used to spend hours trying to look like she wore no makeup at all. She experimented with pencils and powders like a mad scientist, but always looked the same to me. I can remember perching on the stool as a preschooler, watching Marlene hand Mom tube after tube of lipstick. Mom would ask me which color I preferred, consider my answer, and then buy whichever one she wanted anyway. I waited till Marlene rang someone up at the other end of the counter before I started talking. Okay, Mom, in a nutshell, Beth is cleaning Todd's basement. Peter is dragging me to another lasagna dinner at Catherine's, and I'm nowhere closer to changing the world. A woman with a leopard print hat eyed me as she walked by. I just feel like I'm waiting for my life to begin, that I've wasted 17 years. Then what? 4 years at Princeton? How does that help to move civilization forward? You want to see our deep pore cleaning mask? Marlene inquired. I nodded. Whenever Marlene's boss circled by, I pretended I was a paying customer. You ask me, you make it too hard on yourself. Stop worrying about civilization. Worry about staying out of trouble and making nice friends. She rubbed the mask onto my face in small circles. I have nice friends. Well, one nice friend. One nice friend is all you need. Marlene watched her boss get on the escalator, then wiped off my mask with a tissue. Here. She gathered up tiny bottles of free samples, put them in a small bag with handles, and gave it to me. You come back any time. I could see Marlene eyeing a potential customer hovering over the nail polish. I saluted again and left. In the shoe department, I tried on 4 pairs of sneakers, 3 pairs of loafers, and 5 pairs of boots before the salesperson deserted me. I circled by the makeup counter on my way out. Mom? A 50-ish woman in fishnets turned around and went back to what she was doing. Mom, you'll help me, right? With the whole change the world thing? Then I did what I always did when I needed an answer from my mother. I listened for the very next words someone said. A businessman talking on his cell phone provided her response. Yeah, of course I will! My grin spread ear to ear. I said, thanks, Mom. The woman in fishnets turned around again. I tipped my woolen hat her way and headed out of the store. He's going to do that a lot. It was his way of keeping himself sane. To talk to his mom, he would go to this Bloomingdale's counter area, and then he would just think about his mom and then ask a question out loud and then wait for the first thing he heard someone say and use that as the answer. And so he talks to his mom on a regular basis doing this kind of thing. And so here he was like, will you help me with my life? And then he just waits for the next answer, and whoever he hears is like, he thinks it's his mom talking to him. Or at least he imagines it's his mom talking to him. I don't think he's completely crazy, or at least no more crazy than... Yes, he is definitely a little interesting, which is probably why I like the book, because I'm also a little interesting. If you're not familiar with Humpty Dumpty, Catherine, his stepdad's girlfriend, she is obsessed with Humpty Dumpty.
What?
There's a lot of weird things in the world, but this is the thing she's obsessed with.
Why'd you an adult woman? He's obsessed with a weird head.
Because I like the Puss in Boots one. He looks so intimidating. You don't normally think of Humpty Dumpty as like scary, but look at the little eyebrow he's got going. We can do that. And it, all right. Larry item number 8, the laptop. Peter's girlfriend Catherine had a Humpty Dumpty fetish. She collected anything Mr. Dumpty had affixed himself to. Salt and pepper shakers, cookie jars, puzzles, mailboxes, light switches, vases, bookends. You get the idea. Last Christmas, she gave Peter a Humpty Dumpty tie with clumsy Humpty tumbling down the front of it. Footnote, she gave me a skateboard with Humpty written across it in lightning bolt letters. It frightened me so much, I buried it under a stack of newspapers in the garage, and then ended up giving it to the kid next door. Catherine was 40 pounds overweight, always smiling like the poster woman for Fat, Dumb, and Happy Jeans. Sorry, hiccups. I did not mean to pause at that point. Fat, Dumb, and Happy Jeans, footnote. Did I just say that? Horrible. Better read Larry's tolerance sermon again. She laughed nervously after everything we said and was putting in so much effort to be liked that once in a while, I actually found myself rooting for her. Ah, lasagna, my favorite! Peter dug into the casserole dish like it was the first meal he'd had in months. Footnote, he and I are both better cooks than Catherine, and besides, she made lasagna every time we came over. Very nice. I told her 50 times, I don't eat meat, but somehow that never seemed important enough to register on her radar screen. I filled my plate with lots of garlic bread and tomato sauce. I'm not sure if Peter was really interested in the zany anecdote Catherine filled our airspace with, something about mixed up files at work and her crazy boss, or if he just pretended she was a client. I don't know how she did it, but the conversation ended up where it always did, at eBay, and all the wonderful Humpty bargains Catherine was bidding on. I excused myself as soon as possible, saying I had lots of homework to do. As I walked into the cold night air, I banged my hand against the side of my head to empty out the cascade of Catherine's gibberish. By Porter Street, I could almost hear my own thoughts again. It's not like I was trying to walk by Beth's. My feet just somehow ended up there, just in time to catch her running up her driveway. I thought you were dusting off Todd's collection of medals tonight. Give it a rest, Josh. I decided to lay off the topic until she felt like talking. We sat on her front steps and watched the flickering Christmas lights the Petersons should have taken down months ago. I hate to admit, you may be right. Todd definitely doesn't seem to appreciate me. Ooh, that's a giant duh, she shivered. I'll die if I end up being one of these women on talk shows complaining about their lives. Hey, I'll start a fight from the audience so the ratings will be high. I could never have a normal conversation like this with Todd. I don't know why. By the way, I love the fact that she considers that a normal conversation. Let's see. Because he's a moron? Because he thinks memorizing football plays is more important to the plan than physics or kindness? Yeah, I kept my mouth shut and started straight ahead. So I stared straight ahead at the Petersons' lights. Oh, I almost forgot. I opened my pack and took out the gift bag from Bloomingdale's. You visited your mom today? I wondered where you were 5th period. Her long fingers removed the items from the tissue paper. Ooh, I like this. She rubbed some moisturizer onto her hand. A war erupted inside me. Please try on the lipstick. Try it again. Please try on the lipstick. Oh, don't try on the lipstick. On the one hand, I wanted any excuse to stare at those lips of hers. On the other, I needed to sleep tonight. It's only creepy if you make it creepy. It's only going to get creepier as we get farther into the I love seeing how bothered you are now when we're not even into like the meaty part of the book.
What do you mean?
Wow. This is just like the intro awkward stuff. I love teaching. She wanted to torture me, of course. On went the lipstick. Is it too dark? She asked. I could feel her breath as well as see it. Her lips.
Okay, so we
Hey, you made me read that other book. You can get through this. If I had to deal with that one we did, you can deal with this one. Her lips looked like ripe, juicy plums hanging on a tree. She probably
How would you write this in a book?
and told her it looked okay. I'm not sure about this. Larry's latest sermon really got to me. It's about wasting money on stuff we don't need. Well, it was free, if that makes you feel any better. Huh. As a matter of fact, it does. You want to go log on? I followed her down to the basement, which was strewn with clothes and CDs. Why don't you see if Todd will reciprocate? His basement couldn't have been any worse than this. Yeah, right. He's on his way over now. Luckily, there was no chance in heck of Todd actually doing something resembling manual labor, so I had Beth to myself for a few hours. She clicked on her favorite places and pulled up Larry's sermon. While she read the latest sermon, I picked up her magic 8-ball and asked a question. Would Beth like Larry's new sermon? Would it resonate with her? I shook the ball, then turned it over. My sources say no. I may not have magic powers, but I bet you're wrong this time, Mr. 8-ball. Do you guys know what the magic 8-ball is?
Does it?
I'm just making sure. They're from a long time ago, but since the magic 8-ball. I have one behind my desk, but it's an orange Simpson one. But you guys can't see it. It's only kids on this side because it's over here in like this top little corner area. Looks like it used to be. At the end of class, I can pull it out. It's a Simpsons-based one, so it's all like Simpsons answers. All right. Josh, you have got to see this. I put down the not-so-magic magic 8-ball and joined her at the desk. Didn't I tell you? It's like he writes things just for you, no matter what you're thinking. Look! I dragged over a chair and read the latest from Larry. Sermon number 97. Now, I've written a lot about the crap we fill our lives with, possessions that tie us down. They only distract us from who we're trying to become. But what about the people we surround?
Ask it something.
Can I shake it?
I will in a minute. About the people we surround ourselves with. Are they people who ignite our passions or who spur us to greater self-mastery? Are your relationships full of meaning or are you just going through the motions? Don't you want to dig a little deeper, reach another level? Or are we all just looking for the easy, the convenient? The people we choose to spend our lives with are the people who share our journey. Are you surrounded by crewmates or pirates who hijack your time?
This guy sounds like he just got dumped.
It's spooky, she said. That is so me and Todd. Yeah, I'm sure Larry was thinking of you two when he wrote it. No, I'm serious. There's no there. It's over. I shrugged in agreement, but my brain bounced between anticipation and fantasy. Besides, he eats meat. Oh, I can smell it on his breath. It's disgusting. She jumped up and put her hands on her hips, determined. Back to more important things. Let's get going on the Larry Club. Hey, I wasn't the one ironing Letterman jackets all night. I took out the folder of notes I had made the night before. We worked until her father nicely asked me to leave. Footnote. If standing at the top of the stairs and coughing is considered nice. She gave me her usual, "You're my best friend, so it's so harmless to be close to you," hug. I hugged her back in that I'm perfectly content to only be friends way and headed home.
What? Why do you have to explain?
Friend zoned himself.
Yeah.
So basically he's saying that he did the hug where, you know, he
the
could...
side hug?
Yeah, that little side huggy thing where, you know, he's obviously trying not to be like, I'm thinking about your lips because apparently you guys think that's creepy. So he's trying to be like, I don't want to make it creepy. It's a little side hug, a little kind of huggy thing going on there.
Oh, okay.
Did she side hug him?
And because she side hugged him first. Because she's like, you know, it's harmless because you're a boy I don't care about. You're like my brother. And he was like, oh, yay, brother. As I walked down Kimball Street, I thought of all the things I forgot to tell Beth tonight. About the links we could set up from Larry's homepage. About how spring was only a few weeks away. About my conversation with Flip-Off Phillips that morning. And, oh yeah, Beth, one more thing. Did I forget to mention I'm Larry? Not much of a detail person. Footnote. Okay, so I strung you along a little. Big deal. I had to make sure you were with me first. Part 2.
Wow.
So that's...
How did he write that?
I
thought we knew that.
Well, if you read the back, you did. But most kids don't read the back.
I read the back.
So if you read the back, it tells you that Josh is Larry.
I might have.
I assumed most of you were too lazy to read the back, and so I stood back on that.
Assumed
Oh
it.
no, I only read the first paragraph.
There you go.
I just assumed it.
So, this is where we now find out that when we did the whole pre-thing about the whole lying to your friends, this is where we're going to find out he is now in a club that is a fan club for Larry.
He's in a fan club for himself.
And he's in a fan club for himself. Which is, and the problem is now, sorry, the girl he has a crush on, his best friend, is now infatuated with Larry. So now if you tell her I'm Larry, what does it feel like you're doing? No.
No, she likes him.
So it feels like you're trying to manipulate her, and so now, because is she gonna like you because you're you, or is she gonna like you because you're
He's backed
Larry?
himself into a corner here.
So now he doesn't know what to do. and
Yes,
so,
like
Get her to see him writing a Larry book.
and that's
You're
where it
like,
gets.
oh no.
And so yeah, so that part when he was like that writing when she was like, it's spooky. It's like it's so me and Todd. And he was like, yeah, I'm sure Larry was thinking of you two when he wrote it. Larry was
probably
thinking of those two.
thinking of her
And then when you just made the comment, it sounds like a guy who got broken up with. It's because it's a guy who kind of just got broken up with. And so that was why it comes across that way. So this is where it gets to part 2 as you get into it from there. So real quick, your opinions, since they were real teenagers who have issues, what do you think about Josh so
I
far?
forgot they were real.
He's a weirdo. I said he was interesting, but be nice, but I give
Before you go just accusing, give me evidence to back up what your opinion may be.
Well, he likes it. He likes it.
He has a lip fetish.
Exactly, and like in depth.
Okay.
Like he.
So, how is that not like a normal teenage thing to do? You don't think teenagers have crushes on other teenagers?
You're not like they're writing poetry about their lips. Yeah, exactly.
You don't think teenagers write poetry about some girl's lips that some dude's like, oh my god, Rosie.
He's been doing it for like 6 years.
So you can't have a crush on someone when you're 11?
He's 11.
No, said for 6 years.
That happened.
Remember he said like I've had a crush on her for the last 6 years?
Oh.
17 minus 6, I'm not good at math, but that would be the since 11. That yes, he's had a crush on her.
He shouldn't be writing poetry about the place on Yeah, he can stop.
Again, if you think that's weird. So then, what do you think about her?
She's pretty normal.
Alright. It'll be, we're going to keep checking in on your opinions on both of them to see how things stay the same and or change. If you want to write on your little pink post-it note, our checkpoint is going to be page 108, if you want to look on there. So page 108 is going to be the end of part 2. So that's going to show you roughly where you're going to need to get to, is page 108, end of part 2. When we come back from camp, this is what you guys will get a chance to do is read. It goes quick. So it's one of those things where there's plus, what do you call the beginning of a book?
Epilogue.
Boring.
No, exposition.
And what is exposition? We're past the boring beginning stuff. So now that we've gotten to the point where you know that Josh is Larry, now stuff is going to start happening.
Yeah, but how does he have like the time
I
to
keep
write that?
Now, good question. What we're going to find out is that he has a whole bunch of pre-written ones that he writes, but he chooses when to release them because he doesn't want to make it obvious. So like he wrote one about her being with Todd, but then he writes it like a week ahead of time and then saves it and posts it. And so he's going to mention that coming up. There's another one he does, and he was like, I had to save it to not give away the fact that I'm Larry. Because he figures like if he writes it right afterwards, she might eventually figure it out. And he's trying to not let her figure that out.
I keep forgetting that it's a real person.
Right, it throws you off a little bit. That's what I mean, and teenage boys can be weird and creepy. That's part of where it comes into it. So,
Why would you like to make that?
unfortunately, yes. In the next part that it gets into, they start talking about the Three Stooges. So, since we have references to it in here, those of you who are unaware, these would be the Three Stooges. If you get bored, I would recommend Googling or going to YouTube for the Three Stooges because it is definitely entertaining.
You gotta
And
Photoshop
Monty
their
Python.
faces and change the names.
It is. tempting.
So it's the
Mhm.
actual Three
All right,
Stooges.
cover that one. Oh, we're not there yet.
That's tattoo.
Wait a minute, what? Wait a
I forgot. There are things we haven't gotten to.
Wait a minute.
Beth is going to get a tattoo coming up.
Tattoo.
Would you like to know what she's going to get a tattoo of?
Larry. Oh, it's gonna be Larry.
Think about what's going to be the most
It's gonna
awkward
be the peace
thing.
sign thingy.
No, but a good
It's
guess.
gonna be like a whole like segment.
And so,
And then we can serve.
so imagine how awkward that's going to be when the girl you have a crush on gets a tattoo of your online persona that you then can't tell her anything about. So yeah, it keeps getting.
It's getting worse and worse.
Oh, and this is only the beginning of the worst and the worst.
Oh no.
Uh-huh.
Huh?
You'll have to wait. I didn't mean to show that thing up there anyway. I forgot I'd put that up there. So, all right. Well, then let's see. What else do I have that can maybe get something?
I'm not okay, guys.
What, it's hot as shit.
Yeah, he doesn't go away. That's going to be another issue coming up.
She says bad Mentis because they all have like.
No, it's more. She is that girl who's trying to hang out with popular people, and she keeps not being able to give up her desire to be popular. And it's the idea that when you're in school, the idea of being popular is sort of like being rich, and so they make that. He makes that comparison a lot about why are you trying to be popular? It's like trying to be a rich person, and so they go back and forth on that. Ooh, we'll leave that then.
Very fast.
Do you guys know what Woodstock was?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was that big concert thing.
Yeah. There's also like Lollapalooza, so it's like a big music festival. Way back during this was one of the big music festivals that came out. There was a thing called Larry Fest, and they had bands like U2 show up, and all of these bands. They did this whole concert based around Larry, because it starts to get like it's not just a small thing. Over this next little section you're gonna read, it gets big, like scary big.
Spiraling out of control.
And that's the problem is he's just this kid who is posting things for fun, and it becomes like this international thing with all of these people, and they still have no idea who it is that's doing it. And they have a whole like festival and bands showing up and stuff like that. And of course, if you have a festival based on your online persona, what are you going to do? And that's what makes it even weird too. There's a magic. Oh, and then show you guys if you don't know what a magic 8 ball.
Yeah, you shake it.
Oh, it does.
It's
Yeah, and it has like a little thing here.
I'll read them your favorite class.
Oh.
No.
It's third period, my favorite class.
Oh no, please.
No. What does it say?
We
I'm
are.
trying to find out. It's kind of old.
Just like
This is
you.
not out, this is not out of
Well,
the.
maybe you guys were
Oh,
born
it
at the
says
same time.
most of them are except for Cora. No, it's unfortunate. So on the inside of it, there's got like a little triangle thing, but it's so
It's
old.
like in the ink. or
The
whatever.
point just keeps coming up, like it doesn't turn to a side.
Oh, I think
Like I'm looking at it, and
so
it's just a floating pyramid that just keeps bumping the top.
I
So
think it says yes.
Hey, I don't say.
Wally,
I might